Verse 27, And shall not uncircumcision which is by nature, if it fulfill the law, judge thee, who by the letter and circumcision dost transgress the law? Paul here continues in this verse to reason on the same supposition as in the one preceding, and draws from it another consequence, which is, that if the Gentile who is uncircumcised fulfilled the law, he would not only be justified, notwithstanding his uncircumcision, but would judge and condemn the circumcised Jew who did not fulfill it. The reason of this conclusion is that in the comparison between the one and the other, the case of the circumcised transgressor would appear much worse because of the superior advantages he enjoyed. In the same way, it is said in Matthew 12:41 that the Ninevites shall condemn the Jews. The uncircumcision which is by nature. That is to say, the Gentiles in their natural uncircumcised state, in opposition to the Jews who had been distinguished and set apart by a particular calling of God. Dr. McKnight commits great violence when he joins the words by nature with the words fulfill the law, as if it implied that some Gentiles did fulfill the law by the light of nature. Who by the letter and circumcision dost transgress the law. Dr. McKnight affirms that the common translation here is not sense, but it contains a very important meaning. The Jews transgressed the law by means of their covenant and circumcision being misunderstood by them. This fact is notoriously true. They were hardened in their sin from a false confidence in their relation to God. Instead of being led to the Savior by the law according to its true end, they transgressed it through their views of the letter of the law and of circumcision, both of which, especially of circumcision, they made a Savior. The fulfilling of the law and its transgression are here to be taken in their fullest import, namely, for an entire and complete fulfillment, and for the slightest transgression of the law, for the apostle is speaking of the strict judgment of justice by the law, before which nothing can subsist but a perfect and uninterrupted fulfillment of all the commandments of God. But it may be asked how the uncircumcised Gentiles could fulfill the law, which they had never received. They could not indeed fulfill it as written on tables of stone and in the books of Moses, for it had never been given to them in that way. But as the work of the law or the doctrine it teaches was written in their hearts, it was their bounden duty to obey it. From this it is evident that in all this discussion respecting the condemnation of both Gentiles and Jews, the apostle understands by the law, not the ceremonial law as some imagine, but the moral law. For it is the work of it only which the Gentiles have by nature written in their hearts. Besides, it is clear that he speaks here of that same law of which he says the Jews were transgressors when they stole, committed adultery, and were guilty of sacrilege. Verses 28 and 29. For he is not a Jew which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision which is outward in the flesh, but he is a Jew which is one inwardly. And circumcision is that of the heart, in the spirit, and not in the letter, whose praise is not of men, but of God. The apostle now passes to what is reality, not supposition, and gives here the proof of what he had affirmed, namely, that circumcision effects nothing for transgressors of the law except to cause their deeper condemnation, and that the want of circumcision would be no loss to those who should have fulfilled the law. The reason of this is that when the Jew shall appear before the tribunal of God to be there judged, and when he shall produce his title as a Jew, as possessing it by birth, and his circumcision as having received it as a sign of the covenant of God, God will not be satisfied with such appearances, but will demand of him what is essential and real. Now, the essence and reality of things do not consist in names or in external signs, and when nothing more is produced, God will not consider a man who possesses them as a true Jew, nor his circumcision as true circumcision. He is only a Jew in shadow and appearance, and his is only a figurative circumcision, void of its truth.